I don't have the passion anymore, and so remember, it's better to burn out than to fade away. Peace, love, empathy. Kurt Cobain. Hey guys, John from ARTV. It's time for a very special throwback review, one that is taking place because today, February 20th, 2017, would have been the 50th birthday of Nirvana member and founder and vocalist Kurt Cobain. Kurt Cobain died back in 1994, shortly after the release of their album, and their final album, of course, In Utero. But Nevermind is recognized worldwide as one of the best albums of all time. It actually came out in the year I was born. That's actually why I got this shirt, because it says 1991 on it. One of their performances, one of their big shows in Seattle. They were a huge band in the grunge scene, and Kurt Cobain's suicide note was recently uncovered and revealed to us by Courtney Love in the past few years. That's the excerpt that I read at the start of this video. It's heartbreaking. It came from a very tortured mind, and that's what we saw from Kurt in his songwriting, his art that he presented to the world. It was always very poetic, a very tortured mind that was able to twist his words and thoughts into something that may have sounded upbeat or sounded happy, but a lot of the time it was often very, very dark and almost kind of witty, sarcastic, and dry, a little bit snarky and biting even in places. And Nevermind is a perfect example of all of those things coming together with a fantastic track listing. The original one has 12 songs on it. I have a vinyl copy of it here, and I like that it finishes off on Something in the Way. That's the edition that I prefer to listen to, although there are the deluxe and the super deluxe remasters that I know a lot of people enjoy. Their debut album, Bleach, is the best-selling record that Sub Pop Records has ever released. They really helped the grunge scene to explode in the early 90s, helping music take off. And while Bleach didn't achieve platinum status until later in the 90s, it was reissued in 1992, once Nevermind was a smashing success, eventually going 10 times platinum, aka diamond, in the United States alone, selling about 16 million copies worldwide. Bleach was a big record that really shot them into the spotlight. Realizing what the band had in them, record labels started really trying to sign them up quickly, and obviously if you guys know anything about Kurt Cobain and Nirvana's legacy, you know that Kurt was a little bit jaded on the whole music scene. He would often write songs about things that record labels maybe wouldn't want him to, and he would do the opposite of what people told the band to do. Like, for example, they went on a UK late night show, were told to play their track Lithium. They ended up playing Territorial Pissings instead, and it was a damn punk rock moment for Nirvana, and they had a ton of those over the years. Anyways, no more stalling. You guys might have seen my Nevermind review that I did a few years back. I'm not really that proud of that one. It's just the quality of the review, whether it be the camera or the way that I spoke about the album. I just didn't feel like I got enough of my thoughts across. So hopefully I'm going to break this down in a pretty concise and clear way. I don't want to go too in depth because I could talk about this record for a long time, but we're going to try to wrap this up in about 10 minutes today. Sadly, some people only know Nirvana as the da-na, da-na-na-na-na-na, da-na, or the fashion statement band. The smiley face that you see everywhere. Oh, it's a clothing brand. No, it's Nirvana, and I get a little bit tired of seeing that all the time. Smells Like Teen Spirit is probably their biggest song that they ever released. A massive success for the band. The grunge scene really just started exploding around that time. 1991, 1992, very, very big years for that scene. And Smells Like Teen Spirit is a fantastic track. I still listen to this song quite often. There's a reason it's successful as it is. This is one of those songs that has a great build to it. I love those opening guitar chords, and as soon as you hear those drums, this was their first album with now Foo Fighter Dave Grohl behind the kit. You hear those drums start to kick in, you know you've got this song roaring to life. It's the ultimate 90s jam. People probably who don't even know Nirvana really know this song still somehow. While this is a fantastic moment in their catalog that really shows Kurt Cobain unleashing vocally, I love the bass and the drums on it, on the guitar, really everything about the track is iconic. There's a lot of others that don't get enough praise, and obviously I want to do a little bit more of a deep dive into those moments. Even in Kurt Cobain's death and Nirvana's subsequent breakup, there's a reason that Nirvana have continued to stay popular and sell records. Records. It's because these songs all have lives of their own, but they managed to stay at their core an album. These songs are connected, whether it be something like Territorial Pissings, which has kind of a crazy zany opening. Bassist Kurt Novoselic is singing on that one, just kind of shouting, calling back to a 1960s song, keeping in mind, oh, maybe this is an upbeat song, but at the same time, they continue to do the opposite of those things and kind of tear through the rest of the track. I love that one. It's got these harsh, kind of brash, grating guitars on it, and Cobain's voice, as always, kind of rough around the edges, and you can jump from moments like that to something like Polly, which tells the tale of a girl who was kidnapped in the late 80s, and she was managing to escape from her captors, but she was tortured by blowtorches, all these other things, but it was actually used like a euphemism, like Polly wants a cracker, Cobain sings on this track, and it's so clever. There's so many layers to peel back from this track, it's not even funny. Easily probably in my top 3 Nirvana songs of all time. At its musical core, Polly is mainly just acoustic guitar, a little bit of light bass work in between the verses of the track, and it's a very haunting tune. The more you listen to it, the more you hear in Cobain's voice trying to get inside of the captor, maybe the person who is holding her hostage. And obviously we've seen bands do that through the years, but this is an early example that I really see standing out as people just taking on different perspectives. I think it inspired a lot of people's writing style. You can see that as recently as Green Day doing that on Bang Bang from their album Revolution Radio. On the upswing, there's some more upbeat tracks on here, at least musically. Obviously they contrast that quite often in the lyrical department, but you have moments like In Bloom, which has really stood out. Rock Band kind of repopularized that track. I remember playing that one, really enjoying it. I got into Nirvana right whenever I started loving music around age 13, and obviously this was an early love for me. There's something about the bass groove on that one, and the chorus, everything about it. It's just something that you want to sing along to every single time it comes on. A couple of the deep cuts towards the end of this record are ones that I have to praise because I don't hear enough people talking about them. Obviously the singles get a lot of praise, even some of the first 6 tracks on this record, even ones that weren't released as singles. But towards the end of Nevermind, we get some iconic moments that really deserve a lot of praise, especially in the songwriting department. And the first one of those I want to talk about is On a Plane. This is where Cobain was kind of at a turning point, like he'd reached a crossroads in his life. He's saying, I'm on a plane, like I've achieved this certain kind of rut or whatever it is that I'm in, whether it be the drugs or the relationships, whatever it may be. He's obviously not talking about Courtney Love on this record. The majority of the time he's singing about a different girlfriend that was in his life at that time. Courtney had yet to appear at the time, at least, of writing Nevermind. But on this track, On a Plane, it seems like he's reached that kind of turning point in his life, and he seems very confused. Obviously, he was living in a haze a lot of the times, not exactly knowing what to do. There was a lot of depression surrounding touring and just people in his life. In his suicide note, he even mentioned since age 7, he had been kind of jaded on the world, given this hatred of humans, and didn't feel empathy as often as he should, or else he felt it too much in other places. So On a Plane, honestly, one of the more masterful ones lyrically, and maybe some people will just kind of graze through it and just say, oh, you know, this is just kind of a breezy, rocking tune that's a whole lot of fun. There's actually a whole lot more to it, and I highly encourage looking into that. Lithium is another huge moment for me. I've really connected with this one over time, just kind of a happy sad with the looming bass line. Drain You is another fantastic cut that really does pack a bit of a punch to it. Something in the Way closes out the record, and just something that just kind of talks about Kurt Cobain maybe being homeless for a while. A lot of people said that he lived under a bridge for a time. Pin this track. It's one that is very slow, a little bit repetitive, but the more you listen to it, the more that you see with this track. It's just kind of like a hurt soul. He's talking about befriending animals, being lonely, just the state of his mind, and maybe it's repetitive because every day was pretty much the same for him. Stay Away is a pretty angry track that appears near the end. It is repetitive as it shouts stay away, and at the end it shouts God is gay, which is something that I think a lot of people took offense to, but Kurt was one to just piss people off for the sake of pissing people off, because he hated the way that people just viewed others, and he hated homophobia. He was actually a pretty big advocate for that, saying that he thought of himself like he wished he could be gay if he could, or perhaps he was bisexual. He really put himself out there, just did not give a fuck, which I thought was incredibly punk rock, especially at a time whenever that wasn't widely accepted whatsoever. So I definitely enjoy Stay Away, even though it's not a top favorite for me, and the one that comes right before that, Lounge Act, is one that has truly grown on me over the years. They did change up the lyrics a bit. They always have a knack of coming up with the perfect bass and guitar combo, and once the drums are added on top of that, it really just rounds out the rest. Nirvana are a very tight band musically, obviously one of my favorite bands like I've mentioned several times. I do hope you guys enjoyed my review of Nevermind here today. I know that this album is about 26 years old at this point, but its legacy will always live on, just like Kurt Cobain and his attitude, his spirit in life. And while he's gone, obviously he had a daughter, he had a wife, Courtney Love, his daughter Frances. There were so many parts of him that will continue to live on, and obviously the spirit of his music that he was a part of with Nirvana is timeless. I do hope you guys enjoyed my video today. Be sure to leave a like on it, and this is obviously a 5 out of 5 album for me. Can't believe Kurt Cobain would have been 50 at the time I am releasing this video. If you'd like to see another 90s video I did where I talked about Nirvana and other bands, click right here, or music as a fashion statement where I kind of talked about people wearing Nirvana clothes and other bands' logos as a fashion statement, then click that annotation right there. Social media linked in the description. Other than that, I'll see you very soon right here on ARTV.